No matter what, people will commit to misunderstanding you. What's most important is your commitment to understanding yourself. Hello, you guys. My name is Nkirk Madani, known as NK, and welcome back to Misunderstood. Today, we are talking about taking up space and being seen. This is very hard for most people, myself included. I have lived many years of hiding in the shadows, not wanting to take center stage because I was scared, and I was mostly scared because of what other people thought. Other people's perceptions dictated my reality. I let them dictate my reality, which never served me. So I want to make it very clear that I am not perfect by any means, and I still have so much to grow into within myself. So when I say this, just please keep in mind that I am also doing the best I can, but really want to share a personal anecdote and really talk you guys through why this is so important to me, but also how this can help you. So take up space and be seen. You're probably listening to this because you have felt scared of being seen. You want to try something new. Insert literally anything here. I left my corporate job back in 2020 and I wanted to completely reinvent myself. And I'm talking a full rebrand. From going from an accounting office that I absolutely hated to now I have a marketing agency and I have a podcast and I've been working with brands for 4 years now. I had to be seen in order for any of this to happen. But the journey of being seen has been so uncomfortable, but half of that discomfort is self-inflicted. I was just so scared of what people thought. Some people probably didn't give a shit, but I was just so scared of the thought of people caring that I definitely didn't do what I wanted to do way earlier in life. Sometimes I look at that as, do I regret not starting earlier? And I don't want this conversation to go there because everything happens for a reason. I am such a strong proponent on that. But I will say, I do wish that I didn't let what other people thought of me dictate how I moved through the world, dictate how I live my life. I am not alone when I say this, but what other people think of you is none of your goddamn business. Don't worry about them. What is the worst that can happen when somebody doesn't like what you're doing? Tell me, literally say it out loud. What is the worst that can happen? This is what I had to say to myself every day for over a year to get myself up, to get myself off my ass, and to start living my goddamn life for myself. I have so much to say here, but what I will say is here is my story of getting from point A to point B so far in my life. The year is 2020. I was in a corporate accounting job for 3.5 years, full-time, post-graduation. I already had a job offer. Everything seemed to be laid out for me. And you know what? That seems pretty nice in some ways, but that's also very limiting in others. I grew up in a space where everyone did things very by the book. Everyone did things that were regular. There was no self-expression. There was no off-the-cuff energy. It was very mundane and very traditional. When I lived every day in my small hometown, seeing everybody doing something very normal, and even when I moved to San Francisco, people were a little more eclectic and a little more off the cuff, but I felt deep down that this wasn't the place for me for various reasons, which we can get into in another episode. But for the sake of this story, something about San Francisco living, specifically my college experience and my post-grad experience, working at this corporate accounting firm wasn't sitting right with me. I woke up every day. I was living a life that didn't feel right for me. It didn't feel like a good fit for me. That's very important to the story. I wasn't living out loud as I knew very deep down I was meant to do. However, I had so many people in my life saying to my face, writing mean comments about about me online saying, what the hell do you think you're doing? Why do you think that you can do anything other than what you're doing right now? I am definitely keeping this pretty high level. I mean, maybe at some point I might rehash exactly the disgusting things that were said, but that's the preview. I'm saying this only because people were mean and people were uncomfortable with me trying to do something new, trying to shake things up. Because once I finally left that job, granted, I did get laid off through the pandemic, like millions of people got laid off, but that was a blessing in disguise because then and only then I felt the freedom to really try and spread my wings and really try something new and really try to leave this mold of the past and leave this mold of this regular life that I felt like I was living. And I also want to say, before I go any further, I know that there are some people who will misunderstand me in this moment and say, well, corporate's not all bad. There's great things about corporate and security, and you're not wrong. But this is my podcast, so do not discount my experiences because my experiences were real, true experiences that I felt. And that is another reason why this podcast is called Misunderstood, because no matter the validity of my statements, someone will always find something that they want to try to correct me on, and they will want to try to sway my opinion. And that's not what we're doing here. I am simply recounting my lived experiences, knowing that I am not alone in said experiences. Moving on. Once I left that job that I absolutely hated, I was in therapy at the time, which I want to go into therapy really in depth in another episode because I've been in therapy for many years on and off, which we can talk about later. But once I left that job, I was scared as hell, because I had realized then that I had not done anything other than something regular. I had always been in a regular job, working 9 to 5, getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. I had health insurance. I had dental insurance. I had a security blanket. I woke up at the same time every day. I went to bed at pretty much the same time every day. I saw the same people every single day. My life was pretty regular. There was nothing particularly exciting in the environments that I moved through when I was working at that job. Thinking back, I knew in my heart I had to leave, and I knew in my heart that because I got laid off, this is my opportunity. This is my chance. My therapist was definitely very instrumental in my transition. She was the one who actually pushed me to find more in my life. So shout out to April. She's the best. In that moment, cornerstone in my life, that turning point in my life, I knew that I needed to really hunker down and figure out what I wanted in my life, figure out my purpose. Here's the thing about purpose. We all have a purpose in this world. We're all moving through this world with a purpose. The one thing is you have to go find it, and you have to put time into cultivating your purpose, or you're not really going to live your truth. Up until I was 26 when I left that job. 26 years old me was searching for her purpose. I knew that I was a super creative person. I knew that I was always really good at bringing things to life, bringing people together. I knew that I had so much creativity inside of me, and my accounting job was literally the least creative thing that you can think of. So I felt like every day I was suppressing that creativity. But once I left, I told my therapist, hey, I love writing, so I'm going to start a blog. The blog is where I started to learn the true essence of taking up space. Taking up space comes in many different forms. You can take up space literally in any way you see fit. But for me, taking up space meant being very open and honest about sharing things that matter to me, and not being afraid of the haters and not being afraid of people not agreeing with me. Taking up space means that you go into a room full well knowing that you will be seen. Someone, or maybe many people, will resonate with you for whatever reason. This was incredibly important to me to start learning how to take up space in my life, how to feel comfortable with myself enough to take up space. That is part one. You have to be comfortable with yourself enough to lean into that space you are attempting to take. I have a long history of working on feeling comfortable with myself. And you know what? Sometimes I'm not, even to this day, and that's okay. But I have done so much work on myself to realize that I deserve to be in the spaces that I'm in. I'm deserving of the attention I get. I am deserving of putting my work out into the world and being very proud of it and being seen. To be seen is to be heard. And on Misunderstood, being heard is extremely important. I'm not saying you need to go grab a microphone and yell at every single person who goes by. No, that's not what we're doing here. What we are doing here is showing up as you in whatever way fulfills you and fills your cup, and knowing that is completely okay to take up space. So now let's talk about when you actually start taking up space and the outside factors that you cannot control start flooding in. So now back to my story. My process and my journey of taking up space in my life with switching careers was pretty tough. And I want to detail it because I know I'm not alone in this effort. And I know I'm not the only one who's experienced pushback of taking up space and being seen in the ways you want to be seen. Once I left my job and once I finally started to write on my blog very regularly, post my blog articles on Facebook at the time, was still pretty big in 2020. I had a lot of really great feedback, which was super motivating and super great because I thought, wow, I'm really speaking from the heart here. I'm sharing things that are in my crazy little mind, and there are people who are really supportive of it. That's amazing. I'm so happy. But with that also came a lot of negativity. I had people from that very accounting job who said that they were my friends, who quote unquote acted like my friends, out of nowhere, unfollowed me on social media, started sharing my posts in other group chats, and I would hear about it later from someone else to my face. Tell me, what do you think that you're doing posting on social media? No one's going to see it. Why do you think that you have anything to share? Literally, I have had things said to my face and over text message that will literally make your stomach do flip-flops. A lot of my anxiety came from those years, unfortunately. But let me just say, if I let those people who were very single-minded, who had their own limiting idea of success or limiting idea of creativity or limiting idea of living out loud, if I let any of them stop me from living my truth, again, I would not be talking on this podcast right now. I would not have had the courage to keep on going if I let them win. If I didn't allow myself to continue to be seen, if I did not allow myself to continue to be seen, I would not be here right now. What did I do? Instead of be super upset that people who were in my life were talking shit about me or making fun of me, I use that as fuel to the fire. But I also want to say I am human. I'm also very sensitive. So I was very hurt and I was very sad. Tears were shed and a little depression at some points in that time period of my life. So I don't want to come on here on this mic and act like I am this very tough and strong person. There are times I am and there are times I'm not. And what I went through, anybody would feel that same way of feeling down and feeling depressed and upset. But I took all that and I let that fuel me into the next phases of my life, because that is exactly what happened. There were just more phases of my life after that. Life didn't stop because someone didn't like me. Life didn't stop because I got shitty comments on a photo or shitty comments on a video online. Life didn't stop when someone told me to my face that I don't deserve to post online, or what the hell do you think that you're doing? Why do you think that you can post? This is so cringy. Life didn't stop. And because life didn't stop, I had free will to just keep on going, to keep on sharing, to keep on taking up space. And when I realized that their comments were just comments and their words were just words, that allowed me to realize I can do anything. As delusional as that sounds, I can do anything. So I proceeded to just continue. I proceeded to share more content. And when I say that, the blog matriculated into learning about Instagram, and the Instagram posts matriculated into TikTok. And then I went viral on TikTok. And then I went viral again. Then I had all of these strangers who were very interested in me and my spirit and my quirkiness and my knowledge, consulting me on various things that I was sharing, which then matriculated into a full-on business. I built a business off of being myself. Who knew? Who knew that taking up space and being seen is not so scary after all? Who knew that taking up space and being seen would afford me the life that I live now? And who knew that taking up space and being seen would be the best thing I ever did in my life thus far? If you're listening to this and if you are thinking, how do I start taking up space and being seen? The first thing I would say is you need to look inward and assess what lights you up, what makes you jazzed, what gets you out of bed in the morning, genuinely. And I'm not talking about work, because obviously that's something that we all do, but what is something outside of work that really lights your fire? And you need to develop a loving relationship to that said thing. And then you need to cultivate said relationship. You need to pour into it. And here's what I hear a lot is when people like something, but they're too scared to really lean in, and they sometimes make excuses of, well, I don't have time for this, and I blah, 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 blah. If it matters to you, you will make time for it. Point blank, period. If it matters to you, you will make time for it. So I do hope that you actually go forth and put love and efforts and energy into the things that light your fire, into the things that fill you up, because this life is worth living out loud. And even in my example of posting on social media, I want to make that clear is this is my example. And I know a lot of people feel this way of posting on social media. I'll make a whole video about the literal nuances of posting on social media, as well as my journey of actually posting on social media, because there's a lot to that. But you can apply this very thing for anything in your life, like insert anything here. Being seen is not scary, because when you're seen, you're understood. And it is a beautiful feeling. One of the most beautiful feelings ever is to be understood. The last part of what I want to share on this note is people who make you feel uncomfortable for taking up space and living out loud and showing up as you, leave them. Walk away. No explanation. Just leave them. Because if they are willing to make you feel uncomfortable, literally, if they are willing to go out of their way to make you feel uncomfortable for just existing and living your life, there's something wrong with them. Extremely wrong. There's no reason for hate, and there's no reason for making someone feel small or trying to dim their light. No, no, no. You are not dimming our light. Hell no. Walk away from that energy, because there are so many people who will find your light and find your spirit infectious and intoxicating and beautiful. Once you walk away from the negative, I quite literally believe that the positive is always around the corner. I can talk your ear off on how many times this is true in my life. I've had to walk away from so much negativity to be able to find the positive, and this is only the beginning. And I also believe that this is only the beginning for you. And with that, thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments of the show description. Remember to rate the podcast. We are still very new, but I am very excited for what 2025 has in store. This feels like such an amazing part of my life that I get to now share with you, and I'm very excited. Remember to come find me on social media. It is NK Madani on TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram. And I also have a blog. I will talk to you guys next week.